Jagdish Mitra to begin with. He's the Chief Strategy Officer and Head of Growth at Tech Mahindra. He was previously the CEO of Canvas M and has had an illustrious career of over 25 years in different roles, and has worked across the globe, I think, and has currently looked at Tech Mahindra going global and is looking at America, UK, Middle East, just to name a few areas. I will hand over to you, Mr. Mitra, and then I will take over and introduce all the other panelists.
Thank you, Vedant. Thank you, everybody who's joined in, Rajni and my co-panelists, Sri Vidhya, Aarthi, and Samir. Firstly, I think it's a great initiative that you folks at YLC and AIMA are driving, primarily because, we keep doing this whole discussion about creating a 5 trillion economy in India. And that would mean a large amount of growth in the way we do business. And the amount of new, small to medium enterprises, startups becoming many and many more, which we've already seen, it'll only increase. So the whole ecosystem will have to grow in order to drive this. And one of the learnings that I have seen, at least in the work that we have done from TechM, is especially when we've seen growth happening in some of our surrounding markets in Southeast Asia, especially, in spite of the capital being there and the opportunity being there, the thing they have lacked in is managerial talent. And that's where, a lot of people from India were moved in, whether it was a startup in a new greenfield telco, or whether it was a bank, or whether it was an initiative, which was great for Indian, managers to go out there and explore and express themselves. But I think we will run into an issue or a problem if we do not have a very wide depth of very qualified set of, not just in terms of degrees, but in terms of the way to run businesses in this country, because then that 5 trillion will remain a dream if you don't have the talent to deliver and grow and scale that. So in that respect, I really think you guys have picked the right topic. I'm just going to touch upon a few things today as part of my opening note, was primarily about the change that I have seen. So as Vedant said, some of us, he definitely put me into the league of dinosaurs, which said, 25 years, these guys have been working, so they're probably not. So I should be actually on the other side listening than talking. But from our perspective, the change that I have seen from the time that we used to talk about sales and marketing versus the sales and marketing that is coming on today is a world of change. Two reasons, and we all know why the two reasons have happened, and I think that's an important thing to address. Proliferation of the access to knowledge and internet is absolutely ubiquitous. There is no one that doesn't have the same access that you and I have. So there is no sort of I know it and you don't know it type of a scenario. The buyer, the customer, the ecosystem knows as much about technologies and its usage as much as we do. So it does become a very different playing field where you don't come in with that same level of difference between the seller and the buyer. And I'm talking from a technology company perspective. I think it's changed across the world for every industry. Everyone is selling about how does the product add value. No one is talking about responding back to an order. So what therefore it means that one of the key words that I hope this panel will definitely capture on, because we've got a very eminent panelist, is about consultative selling and leveraging technology to be able to help do your sales. If there are two things that you want to take away from today's session, it's these two things. Consultative selling, by definition, means that you're creating a solution in a consultative manner for your customer. You're not out there with a list of a menu card saying, how do I sell 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to you? It doesn't work like that anymore, because the nature of the business has changed, where both parties know each other, know the area of work very well. So for example, in our world, no one goes and says, how can I sell you a cloud solution? The difference is, how can you help me drive distributed supply chain? And therefore, I can deliver that through a cloud solution, not the other way around, where the technology would lead a question versus a business problem would lead a question. What does that mean to you and me as people? I think it means understanding of the industry and the business more. So each of us, if I was to fast forward when I started my sales career 25 years back and doing sales in international markets to now, the difference is that then I would go with a set of technology tools and say, I know this, we have this capability, we have this skills, tell me what you want. And it's like a menu book where you ask the guy to come and tell you the order book, you take your order, not very different from an ODP restaurant. And you come back and try and fulfill that order. That world has changed where your menu book is no longer this. Your menu book is understanding of the business and trying to solve business problems together. And therefore, very much focused on what that's happening. Second part of it is what I said, data. We are all sitting in the humongous world of data thrown in from all aspects, whether it is social media or whether it is industries, different aspects. The ability to mine data will make a successful sales and marketing guy versus another successful sales and marketing guy. And that's where the difference lies between what used to be truly only a specific focus on face-to-face relationships, building relationships on the basis of mining and dining and building that whole B2B sales environment to knowing the persona that you're dealing with. And today with the technology that's available, you can do that very well. So I'm going to leave you with these rich panelists to talk you through this. But my only opening note to you would be focus. I'm hoping that we will focus as we build this cadre of managers in India to grow towards the 5 trillion economy. Is a set of people who are deep into understanding what the business problem they are solving. That doesn't mean that they are folks who can tell people how to run their business. I don't mean that. I mean that people who understand what the business problems that the industry faces or that particular business faces and how do you tailor a solution. And second is a same skills on analyzing data to make it a meaningful experience for it. So all the time you're selling an experience to the guy or the customer rather than selling them a product. That's what I would leave you with and wish you guys a very good session. And Vedant, all yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing this with us, Jagdish ji. And let me go ahead and introduce the other panelists. We also have Mr. Samir Batra, the Senior Vice President, Global Growth from Tech Mahindra. Then we have Miss Sri Vidhya, VS, the Global Head and Sales Effectiveness and Enablement at Infosys. We have Miss Aarthi Ramesh, who's the Vice President, GTM Operations at Freshworks. And I would like to invite Mr. Samir Batra to give a small introduction and experience sharing as the next part of the event today.
Thanks, Vedant. I think let me just take the clue from what Jagdish said, right? And I think the way the discussion was supposed to happen was that what was the one word which you will talk about sales and marketing. And I just want to start with this so that I can get the tenor going out here. So the one word which comes to my mind from a sales and marketing perspective comes brand, right? Whenever you are talking about a brand, and when you're taking a brand to your customers, or you're going across within the sales as well as the marketing, that makes a huge impact. And the brand is known. Like for example, if the brand is like Apple, right? You know that the Apple is going to cost you high, but is going to give you the features which you need, right? So people would go for the brand itself. Brand also brings in value, right? Where Jagdish alluded to it, right? So that is another important aspect which I would say the value comes in, right? So if you're buying a product like Apple or any other product which is coming, what is the value are you getting as a consumer? So that's another second thing which comes across. Then is you look forward to Apple, right? Every September 13th, they go and announce new products. And in New York, Manhattan, you would see there's a huge queues which are there, right? So what is new which is going to come in, and you're excited about it. And that's what the next generation is excited about it. I want to have my Apple iPhone 14, which is getting launched. I need to have the first one in my hand. So that comes as a new. Then while you're paying for it, for the brand, the value and the newness, but you know that it is a proven product. So you know that your money is not going to go waste. If you get that, easy to start, use, and then move forward. And then finally, you build the trust with that brand. because then you start trusting that brand. If you're buying a, I'm just giving the example Apple, there could be multiple examples. And finally, what Jagdish mentioned, right? With COVID coming in the last 2 years, with the proliferation of digitization which coming in, what is the GTM you're going to use? So you going and buying online rather than at a brick and mortar. So I would say there is a huge transformation which has happened across in the last 2 years versus if I look at the the time when I started my career, right? So I think that is what I would add it out here: the brand value, new, proven, trust, and the GTM. Over to you, Ved.
That is absolutely right, sir. There is a paradigm shift in what's happening globally, and new sort of means and ways are being used. The next question I would like to ask is Ms. Sri Vidya, since she's heading the global team at Infosys and has been instrumental in changing the way Infosys is doing sales, and has also championed the cause of diversity and inclusivity. I would like to ask you, ma'am, that what are the new ways of reskilling your team, and what is key factor of a sales and marketing team today, given the fact that there has been a huge behavioral change and a change in the business landscape? Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I think Samir spoke about the buyer's behavior change and how the expectation changed and the landscape has changed. So buyers today are looking more for an information-rich sales pitch than traditional ways. So when you're trying to shop for a new product or a service, you would probably go online. The buyers go online, spend a lot of time researching, looking up the marketing collateral. Sometimes, look at the customer testimonials if your friends have referred, or look up a video, download trial software. So it is essential for sellers to quickly connect all these channels to give a very consistent customer experience and to arm sales teams with the information that they need to be successful. So in a hybrid model, that is a mix of both physical and digital, sales team will need to know increasingly about the newer offerings that their companies have. I think, the earlier speaker spoke about how the offerings the companies are differing. So if you have to sell them, you jolly well know your offerings thoroughly, not the ones that were there when you started off the sales, right? So access to market intelligence, information about prospects and clients, and being able to connect with them socially. See, rapidly, the ability of sellers to be first digital themselves and have digital selling behaviors is going to be the key to succeed today and in the future. So it's very essential for us to empower our sales force through knowledge management, sales insights, tech courses, etc. And if you look at what makes a successful salesperson, what are some of the skills? I think at least every day, about half an hour, you should aim to be active on social media, write posts, put insightful market research. There are experts commenting. So if you have clients online as well, you just like their post, or you can also sometimes differ from their views. So those get noticed, leave valuable comments. So one of the biggest social selling trends in 2022 has been personal brand development. So whether it's a CEO or a manager or representative of companies, look towards building your authority on social media, especially LinkedIn, and target audience trust, attract their attention, and then organically divert them towards your products or services. So at Infosys, we've launched a sentient tool for our internal sales team. It's on a mobile app called InfiMe. It aggregates information from various external platforms in bit-sized information about clients to sellers. So we need to really equip sales teams, and we should have, for example, you should have very good data analysts. So they would be able to mine and see the newly laid digital footprints of your clients. And from that, your marketing and communications team should work together to give highly tailored messages, contextualize your account-based marketing content, etc. Should not be the same message for all. It should be, looking at all these digital footprints. What is it that the buyer is actually looking for? And when you sell to that, and you're able to recommend to your sellers what they should actually uh, broach the topic, then it becomes all the more powerful. So all these things should come together, and it's a completely new age of selling.
I would like to ask a little follow-up question. You were talking about LinkedIn. Has it become an important tool when it comes to recruitment also for you today?
Absolutely. I think with all the pandemic coming in, and also with the great resignation, the talent churn, it is imperative that we use LinkedIn as well as other tools to get good talent, and you're able to see a lot more information. It cuts down your recruitment time. You're able to see recommendations. You're able to also see a lot of things virtually, which will take much more if you had to do the whole physical 9 yards thing of recruitment. So there are so many such tools that definitely we need to embrace. And even for sales team, it's important that we advertise on media. You have good references. Sometimes you get good people through these channels. So absolutely, Vidya.
My next question is to Miss Aarthi. Aarthi is the GTM operations at Freshworks. She's also a graduate from Indian School of Business and has had many roles in pre-sales, business analysis, as well as has worked in the IT industry and the services industry. Aarthi, my question to you is actually talking a little bit about your transition from a services company to a product company. How does selling services differ from selling product? And there is a trend which is coming up that product has become paramount today, and that's where people see a little bit of the glitz and glamour as well, where your product becomes very well known. And how has that transition been, and how is the sales and marketing strategy different from a services company to a product company?
Sure. I'll try to touch on that. Thanks, Vedant. Thanks, YLC and IMA for the opportunity. And it's a privilege to be here. And Vedant, as you said, yes, I spent after ISB, let me just focus on that, 17 years in Cognizant. So I do see Mr. Samir here with many years of experience, and Ms. Vidhya in IBM, Tech Mahindra, then of course Infosys, all great companies. And so a couple of years back, luckily, just before the pandemic struck, right? So I wanted to see whether I can have a new experience. It's not easy. Cognizant is an established company, and I knew almost everybody in, and then it's an services player and a space that I was comfortable with. But SaaS and the product-based selling, Freshworks becoming the first unicorn, wanting to get to IPO, rather. At that time, we were not IPO. And there was a challenge of senior position coming in and scaling operations. So in a lot of ways, it was moving out of my comfort zone and getting into unlearning and relearning all over again. And you asked the right question, what is the difference? In a lot of ways, sales and marketing is similar. As Mr. Jagdish said, it's all about consultative selling. It cannot be selling product features to a buyer, how much of a great product you have. It is not about a menu card at Udupi restaurant that he's talked about. However, there are some fundamental differences. In services, we intimately know the buyer. We know the organization, we know the customer, we try to know so much about their needs, what is the exact solution that can fit into their needs. Whereas when we are talking about SaaS or a product-based firm, I'm talking about a smaller wallet share. I'm talking about large set of customers. So here, the primary focus here is identifying the target segment. Where do you see our product fit in? And which persona? Again, a very powerful word Mr. Jagdish mentioned. Are you talking about a sales persona? You're talking about a support persona? Where exactly do you want to pitch your product? You might have, like we have a sales product, and we have a support product, and so on. So fixing what exactly will be the need, identifying that persona, and this is where marketing is a very important role. In services also there is marketing, which is important, but here marketing drives buying behavior. So let me call that as more of a foot in the door, right? It's a large component of selling, and that can get you the first lead, first contact, and first pipeline that you might have. And we need to attract people to our website. And the moment someone downloads a product, uses a trial version, the moment we can do that, we are in a far better scenario to convince the customer to understand their needs and tailor in our product to serve their needs. Of course, it cannot happen without understanding their needs, but that comes easier once a product is downloaded. So, in short, what I can say is marketing as well as sales are very crucial when it comes to SaaS and product-based selling. And sales has to be consultative, and pre-sales demo, identifying the persona, identifying the needs, and then suggesting the right product becomes very important.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And I think there is a very popular, saying in the product and the SaaS space now, that you have to attract, then engage, and then only you can convert. Because without the first two, you can almost forget about a conversion happening. My next question is to Sameer sir, that over your journey of IBM and the rich experience that you are carrying, how important has collaboration been for sales and marketing teams, especially in this new era of social media marketing, identifying personas, attracting different user bases? Has some sort of collaboration or partnership been key, and will it get stronger or will it become more important as time goes on?
Thanks, Ved. I think I'll give you an example, right? I think it is better for the people to understand with an example, right? Let's take the example of State Bank of India. The old bank, right? Everybody knew it's an old bank. It's your father or mother's bank, which you used to go and bank it out there. And when Miss Arundhati became the chairman for the bank, she said, "Hey, look, I need to change the perception." And how would you change the perception? She brought in a digital bank, which is by a brand YONO. And that brand came into the existence itself. And for her to build that brand, she had to work with the ecosystem. She could have not done it herself. So she worked with IBMs of the world. She works with the other system integrators of the world. She worked with the other product companies of the world, and everybody came together and built that brand. Now, what does that brand did out there? It brought a digital bank. It's not a physical bank. It is a digital bank. What it had, it could do a fund transfer. It could do a fixed deposit. It could look at the account details itself. And the most important thing, which I love about this, is it had something known as My Dreams. So that means you were capturing the persona of the customer out there. So I think that's the first thing which they did very smart along with it, all right? So there was a deliberation which happened, and that is how it got across. Then when they saw that there is a traction which is happening in the marketplace, and they got the next generation and millennials coming onto the bank, then they said, "Hey, look, how do I make sure that where do these young folks spend their times?" And at that time, you would know that there were a lot of malls which were getting open. There were a lot of people which were venturing into the malls, not the COVID period, prior to that, right? So they were the first bank, a public sector bank, to open their branches into malls. And that mall had a concept was an open branch. There was no doors. There was no security guard who was standing across. There were big screens, panels. It used to look like as if you're entering into a game room where you're going and playing something. So you used to go and do your transaction out there. So they brought that change. Okay, so they brought those. Once they got them hooked onto this, as Aarthi mentioned out there, once they got hooked onto it, they could, when they're going out for the shopping and they need cash, they could go and withdraw. All right. And then if they needed additional incentive on that, on the EMI side, they could get those offers. And the people who were serving them were youngsters. Again, the millenniums out there. You would not find people when you go to the old SBI branch, right? I don't want to name that. So I categorize myself into that brand itself, the old generation. But what I'm trying to say out here is, so they did that. And Arundhati herself visited these branches. And she spoke to the sales representatives or client relationship managers and figured out what do they need, what changes they need to make. And those changes were made, right? So what she did is she got them hooked onto it. She got the right place where these people are visiting. They were able to leverage there. So they transformed the whole branch concept itself. And you go to the branches right now, or you go to any mall, you will still find people selling SBI cards. You would not find somebody else selling any other card. So they are still holding on to that because there is a momentum out there. So that is the whole change if you look at. And she would have not achieved this without a collaboration across the different ecosystem, right? She worked with all the players. She got this thing going. They came to the, and then also the most important part, right? Once you have a persona of a buyer, right? And say example, I'm in an age group of 30. I'm moving in from Mumbai to Delhi, and I am shifting my home out there. So I would need a logistic support. So I would, once I come here, I would look out for a home. Then I would look out a place for my kids to study if I'm married. Then I would look out that I stay in a place where all the facilities are available. So they build the ecosystem of all these players who could, the logistic companies, the builders, the rental guys, the car companies, and the Karyana shops around. And they built that ecosystem and they brought it in the marketplace. So if I am a customer for SBI, I can look at that marketplace. I can go and select the location where I am. I could figure out who are the ecosystem players. I can go and connect with them and I can get my things done. And by the way, if I need certain financial assistance, there is a financial services which is also there in the marketplace. So they can go back to the bank and get all those services. And this has all happened due to the big companies coming into the retail side, consumer side, who have a consumer rich data like Amazon, like Alibaba's of the world, right? And that is where earlier these are the companies who are threatening the banking, the traditional banks. So it was a counter to that, seeing well in advance, working with the team, looking forward with a vision. That's how she got that YONO as a digital branch. So that's one good example, which I would rather say and people would understand.
No, thank you so much. I think that's a great example of foresight as well as understanding the new economy. I would also like to add a little tidbit for everyone who's listening today that, we don't necessarily need big technology to understand persona. In our team at Food Cloud, we have a rule that one customer interview has to be done by each team member every month. Right? So they get a list, they can choose randomly from that list, pick up and just call up the customer and have a general interview or a general chat with that customer, not asking for feedback about our company, right? The idea is to understand the person, the needs, what is happening in their life. I think that is more important, to understand the persona sometimes, and it does not need to necessarily be driven, because we are a small company and there are many small companies and entrepreneurs who are listening to us today. So I just want to tell them that, you can start small and dream for the next YONO. So that's very much on the cards.
So Ved, I know you're pitching for the next unicorn.
I know, sir.
On the lighter side. Good one, good example.
So I would like to pose the next question to Ms. Vidhya. With talking about this big tech, talking about, all sorts of bots, AI, ML, how can independent companies use this and better strategize using this to make their sales and marketing functions even better? Just to tell you a little bit that we have a lot of AI and ML enthusiasts at YLC IMA. So I think they will really enjoy this.
Thank you. I think the chief sales officers have a very unique opportunity to reinvent the future of sales. So with COVID disrupting the trends and due to technology and generational shifts, what's happened is that from experience and intuition-based selling, we've become more a data-driven sales, where process, application, data all come together as one single operational practice. So B2B companies have completely shifted their go-to-market to digital. So if you look at the McKinsey report, there's an increase of 41% in video conferencing and about 23% in online chat services. So if you look at the sales strategies, what's at the core? Social selling, automation AI, and digital scalability. We spoke a bit about social selling initially. I think it is something that it's been around for a while now. Maybe people start using it as a must practice for business to stay afloat many times. If you look at AI based and guided selling, what we're looking at is a data lake coming from deal intelligence. You see the kind of activities, the benchmarking indicators that are there, and based on that, maybe some suggestive and prescriptive sales can happen. You can also look at engagement gaps. Suppose you're having a portfolio of clients, then you can see how often your people have talked to the clients. You can look at the engagement gaps. What is the next best action that can be suggested? So these are all some of the things which can be completely AI driven. It need not be your manager who's coming and advising you or a senior salesperson. AI itself can actually show you all these things, and also being able to pick up the implicit buying signals. You'll be able to actually track a lot. It's very important to keep your pipeline and CRM up to date. I think that is one of the biggest challenges always for any company, keeping all your data in CRM, keeping it up to date, keeping it as a point of reference. Once you have all these, then you'll be able to maximize your impact. And when customers have migrated from in-person to digital sales channels, so sales teams also need to rethink their strategies, looking at everywhere customer. I think we had a very beautiful example of SBI. And how do you engage with the everywhere customer? Then you position your sales to facilitate buying decisions. And the customer should feel more confident to be able to buy in this change circumstance. And upskill your sales team so that they are able to adapt to this new selling and buying environment, prepare and respond quickly to the changes. They need to be able to quickly adapt and be very, very agile. And I think a day is not very far when we'll be having customer meetups on Meta. Our avatars must be presenting POCs using augmented reality, and marketing giveaways, maybe having NFTs. And we could see sales events like this being more fun, inclusive, like Wordle. So that is for all the tech enthusiasts.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And we also have Mr. Anoop Chaturvedi, the country manager for HP Enterprise and also a YLC member. We also would like to invite him and for him to take up some of the next question and answers with the panel.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Vedant. And thank you for the amazing questions that you have raised today and amazing insights that all the panel members actually gave. While we were talking about the hybrid workplace and the paradigm shift in the way we live and operate, I was actually living it once again. So bad network connection, being on road, having a custom meeting after such a long time and being just not prepared for it. I think those are some of the realities that we all sales and marketing people have to be prepared with. So thank you really, Vedant, because I think last minute changes is something that we all have now learned to live with. So now just to talk about some of the questions, and I think as I had promised earlier to all the panelists that sales and marketing is all about fun, excitement, thrill, right? So from Rocket Singh to in the Indian cinema to Howard to the Howard going gentleman in the Suits serial, I think we have all the great personalities on the reels as well as in the real life. And today, I think I'm joined by all the panelists who are really living it. They're the real celebrities of sales and marketing. So you've really not left many questions for me, Vedant, because you really asked all the tough ones already. So you've really done the job pretty easy for me. So I'll just make it a little more fun for everyone. And that's where I think I have a few either or questions for all the panelists. And it's a rapid fire round, so don't take too much time. I just want basically looking at the sales personas, the skills and traits that we all live with. what do you think is most important? And we'll start with Sri Vidya. Sri Vidya, what will you choose? Empathy versus aggression.
Empathy versus aggression. What are you saying? What is the question, please?
What will you choose from a sales personality perspective? What is most relevant these days? Empathy or aggression?
Oh, I think empathy to client and aggression to the sales team.
Wow, that's a great one. Next one is to you, Aarthi. Logic versus gut feel.
Okay, so I will choose logic. The reason is I'm head of operations. Gut feel. My sales guys come back with a gut feel estimate, and if I have to forecast, I need a logic to go behind it. When it comes to sales and marketing careers, definitely gut feel and work from a passion to follow from the heart works best. And that is where operations comes in to ensure there is a logic behind it. And so the right investments are made in the right place and right forecasts are given.
So Samir, the next one comes your way. HI versus AI, human intelligence versus artificial intelligence.
I'll go with HI.
Please.
I'll go with HI because I think HI is more relevant. AI still has to go a long way to come to the relevance which we want to look at it, right? Now, since it's a rapid fire answer, I will go with HI. I don't want to expand on more on that.
Wow. No, I think it will be perfectly all right if you expand a little more on that, because I think sometimes some of the salespeople, when we are living in the era of bots, quick responses, I have seen at times, and last week I was interacting with 100 plus students from who are aspiring to build a career in sales and marketing, and they had some pertinent questions around whether bots will replace some of the functions of sales. So maybe you can expand a little more on that. And Aarthi, I will also request your inputs on that, because I think you're the one who moved from services to products, and I think this is a 360-degree view. So maybe you can build a little more on that.
So I think you brought out a point on bots, right?
Yeah.
Bots is a media by which you could get certain things done, right? Bots is not a media where you can get your all needs covered, because when you need help, you ask for help, and if there is a specific question, bots would help you out. But if you need more specific details, like let's take an example of a bank, right? And when you're using a bot or an insurance company, when you're asking a question that this is how I want to get my insurance, what are the different types of insurances which are there, what I'm looking at it. So I'll get the answer, but the choice is with me. That's where the human intelligence comes into picture, right? It doesn't go the other way around. Bots can't tell you what are your needs and what is your selection. Bots is the enabler, and human intelligence, I would say, is what is still relevant, and it will be relevant throughout the life. Because earlier, I remember that when I was in IBM itself, I'm talking about 15 years back, the AI concept was envisaged at that time. Nobody thought that the AI would work across. And we were doing largely in the healthcare services. And at that time, when we took this across to the different labs and the large hospitals, they used to laugh off, hey, look, what have you brought out there? We don't need it. Because we were talking about millions of journals which doctors are supposed to read every day and then prescribe across, whether it is cancer, whether it is other diseases itself. But the people laughed away. Doctor said, I know, I'll go with my gut, right? Aarthi said she'll go with the logic, right? So I'll go with my gut, what is right, and I'll prescribe to the patient what is needed. But at that time, people laughed at it. And this is, I'm talking about a board discussion. When we used to do a board discussion in India, and I'm not talking about global, but within India itself. The same set of people came back thereafter and said, hey, look, we want AI to enable us. But still, doctor is the one who writes a prescription. AI gives you the suggestions. So I'm just giving you another example.
Amazing. Aarthi, coming from you, logical Aarthi, to be precise.
No, actually, I completely agree with Mr. Samir on this. So say somebody comes to our website, right? What is the most important metric that I track is what is the first response rate? Am I able to answer their basic queries? Will your product service this need? Is it HIPAA compliant? You chose the healthcare example. What is the price? Whatever. So these are the things that I can use my bots to train them to answer, because I need someone providing immediate information. I need, these are specific questions that can be answered and those can be properly enabled as well. But after that, if somebody wants to say that, oh, I seem to be stuck on this, what kind of solution can help me? That, is something that you need a human touch. You need someone who can answer back. But that said, if I am in need of something and I'm coming to a place, to a website, and I need something, I can't, the bot cannot say that, hold on, I'll have my rep call you. And the person calls like in 48 hours, by then you have lost the customer.
Wow.
So definitely AI and bots are very important for that first response rate, getting more intelligence and passing it on to the right rep to call on the customer immediately, who can then do a little bit of consultative selling rather than go with a clean slate, right? Hey, I understand this is your problem. How can I help? And this is my solution. They can be better prepared to. So that's my answer.
I can also see, I can see some amazing comments also coming in the chat bot, in the chat section. Sorry, I've confused the chat with the bots now, because most of the times we're chatting with the bots these days. So Sushan says bots lack persuasion, and I think I sometimes tend to agree with that, because it is very mechanical, and Samir did touch upon that, and thanks Aarthi for bringing a complete perspective on that. A very interesting question which I can see, which is coming from Pushkar, and maybe Aarthi, I will put this question across to you. He says that in companies today, channel partners play a very important, vital role in establishing the last mile connectivity. In the context of all the changes, the paradigm shift in the way we live and operate, what do you think is the role of the channel partner? Is it going to increase? Is it going to decrease? Is it going to stay as relevant as it was, or is it going to come down?
No. Channel partners is a very, very important part of the growth. That is the place which can give the non-linear growth, as we try to call it. And so, say for example, I have sales guys in the company. I give them a quota, per quarter, and then I invest marketing dollars. I expect returns. I expect pipeline. I expect closure. But where can I get the non-linearity come in? Rather than go by the quotas of the sales team and adding and looking at the capacity, what is my partner and how much of a pipeline that they can bring for me? And each of the partners are leaders in their space. They are working very closely with their customers. They understand the needs of the customers, and relying on them to suggest the right product for their end customers makes a very important part. Not alone that, there are also places where we may not be operating today. For example, we don't have office in Japan or Korea, and where there is a lot of market context, local language capability becomes very important. Those are the places we completely rely on our channel partners. It's more so important for product companies. This is extremely important for us to grow, and it's very relevant.
Wow. Vedant, that's where I come to a question to you. It's again a one-word question. You can choose either or. So your options are that which skill would you rate higher from a sales and marketing perspective? Is it skills or is it attitude, and why?
Attitude.
Wow.
For us, it's all attitude. We are hiring skill underdogs all the time in my company. And the attitude we are looking for from them is an entrepreneurial spirit. We need each individual to take responsibility for the specific role they're doing and think of it like a micro company or a small ship that they have to sort of navigate with help from other people, but they have to navigate that ship. So attitude, hands down.
Attitude. And that's where I think I would want to go to Shri Vidhya, because skills can be taught, skills can be learned. How about attitude? How do you do that? You've been doing it for so many good years across different geographies. It's a difficult task, okay? And I think all the leaders who are present in the panel today would agree that changing the attitude may be like a quasi-static function, right? So what do you say? How do you want to suggest people to go about it, both from people who are leading teams and both from a perspective of people who are a team member in a large sales and marketing organization?
I think, just like culture eats strategy for breakfast, probably attitude eats skill for lunch. So, attitude, is probably a function of your upbringing, your education, your own awareness from various experiences, right? You would learn from that. Plus, a large part of it would come from coaching, the manager to peer coaching, the team leader to team coaching, and also if you have a culture of leadership and soft skill and a mix of all these things to bring all of it together, I think it comes together. Plus, if your company is having a very well-defined value system and you're very serious about it at every of your customer uh, interactions, then automatically the sales team or any team for that matter would know that it is important. Attitude is where it is displayed. So
Okay, so while I put across some more tough questions to all the panelists today, I can see 200 plus people who are present today who are joining me and who have decided to make the life of all the panelists a little tough. So I can see questions popping up there quite a few times. One very good question that came, actually it was an acronym, but I would rather use it as a question to you, Samir. How would you rate these three skills in order? Attitude, skill, and knowledge. Attitude, skills, and knowledge.
So in the new era, I'm going to put knowledge as number one.
Okay.
Okay, whether you like it or not, I have relearned myself in the last 3 years. And if I look at it last 2 years, I've done more than 100 hours of relearning. All right. So knowledge
100
is
hours of e-learning.
in a year. All right. Because that is how the whole technology is changing.
Correct.
Everything is changing. And I'm talking more from a technology perspective. So I think knowledge would be the first thing. Second, I'll go with the attitude because most of the panelists said that. And I like the idea of Vedant talking about entrepreneur. I think skills out there. And third would be the skills. That is the order I'll take it up.
Wow. So you made it CAS. I had made it ask. Okay, ask, ASK. So it was attitude, skill, and knowledge is what Alok ji actually mentioned in the chat box. And I think from ask to it is CAS is how the movement is. And I think I would go with you.
That's a reality. That's a reality in the current norm. And if you look at it, even also the traditional industries, right? Manufacturing also, right? There's a huge technology which is moving in out there. Industry 4.0. There are new areas which are coming across. So all the traditional industries are also transforming. So I think knowledge is very important. If you will have knowledge, you would have employability. Let me put it that. A new word is employability. That's the most important thing.
Since you said CAS, KAS, I will pick up a comment from Cash. Okay, sorry if my pronunciation may be incorrect. Cash KAS types in the chat box and says that IQ is second, EQ is first, but both are equally important. And I will go with that because I think one has to read articles around mindfulness, etc. And that is what Cash is also suggesting to all of us today. So I'll just borrow on that idea and go to you, Aarthi. And this is a traditional question where we all have been asking, and most of the times during our MBA days, this was asked, we were taught about it. Now with so many decades, what do you think? Marketing and sales is an art or is it science?
Okay. I think this is similar to the attitude and skills, right? So if marketing is definitely, sales and marketing is definitely an art. But if you don't have the science behind it, like Vidhya ma'am here is on sales enablement, and this is highly crucial for us too. So without that, say I have a list of products. If I am not able to understand my own product features, if I don't have a knowledge of what are the, features of the product, what problems it can solve, how do I go and solve a customer's problem? So it is an art because, it is not easy. Sales and marketing is one of the toughest jobs out there. But if it's easy to get equipped, if somebody is ready to put in that effort, good sales and marketing people will not open their mouth unless they are knowledgeable about their own solutions, their own products. The number one focus for me is enabling sales team on the product, on the solutions, on the competitors, battle cards, what they should talk about, and making it like a science so that they don't have to, it's not about making them bots. It's not about making them, like robots, but more and more they have a clear messaging on what should be said for this particular solution against this competition. What are the battle cards that we have, that makes them all the more richer. There's a consistency in approach, and of course, art is what finally closes the deal, right? People buy for the person finally, right?
Perfect. Now, since we are already moving into the last few minutes of the section of today's talk, and it has been very interesting to talk to everyone, I can see two more acronyms actually came up. We started from ASK, Ask, then KAS, and now I can see CASH. Okay, where somebody actually used hard work also. So I think that's an acronym that I would today walk away with, which is CASH, which is knowledge, awareness, skills, and hard work. And I think Samir narrated some amazing stories today, the real life stories in terms of how sales and marketing, more from a business to business era, is actually more relevant. Vidhya, you shared some amazing insights, and I think we can keep borrowing more ideas from you in terms of how the whole skill enablement part on the sales transformation, specifically from a growth perspective, works out. And Aarthi, you had some amazing insights today, specifically around the 360-degree shift that you had from services to products, and what all we could borrow from you. Vedant, you have been asking a lot of questions, and hence I reserved last one or two questions for you. So you being an entrepreneur, I would fire this question at you. And for all my audiences today, I just wanted to let you know that mine was a surprise entry with these questions, because I lost my paper where I had written the question. So all these questions are as freshly baked as you can imagine, and hence they smell good. So at least to me, because I'm asking them. So Vedant, how important do you think is the entrepreneurial mindset in the sales and marketing streams? And since sales and marketing is driving the revenue and is driving the growth in the business, how important do you rate entrepreneurial mindset, and how would you suggest all of us, including the panelists and the people who are audiences today, how do we try and develop an entrepreneurial mindset?
Sure. You're absolutely right. I think sales and marketing and entrepreneurship go hand in hand, right? There are a few sayings around it that you can probably hire somebody who is the best technology person to make the best product for you. But if you don't know how to sell it, all of that is kind of down the drain, right? So in an entrepreneurial team, selling is a must-have. Everything else you can potentially try and plug in, right? Or if you are that technology person, you must have that amazing selling person sitting right on top of the organization and leading that organization. Otherwise, there will be a big mismatch, right? So entrepreneurship and selling go extremely hand in hand. Today's entrepreneur, like so many panelists here mentioned, first of all, they have to sell themselves. So that has become an inherent quality that an entrepreneur must have. And then eventually they have to sell their company, right?
Correct.
Either to the market, to the public, or to the investors, or, and I'm not saying that that's necessary for all companies. There are many bootstrapped, well-functioning companies without raising that round of VC, etc. But the idea is you still have to continuously be selling something, even if you're in the B2B space, or if you're in the B2C space, it's a no-brainer. So entrepreneurship and sales actually go hand in hand.
Wow. So that's where I have one question. I've seen entrepreneurs take a lot of risk. And sometimes, although sales team also takes a lot of risk, and we do go out and commit, and marketing teams take a lot of risk in terms of organizing the events, and then later on figuring out that they didn't get as many leads in the areas where they wanted. What is your suggestion? How important is risk, and how should one look at the risk management aspects?
So, risk is obviously a part of your daily life, right? COVID has taught us stepping out of your house can be a risk, right? So some risks that people did not imagine that they are facing on a day-to-day basis, now it seems like a little bit of a risk that you're taking. So risks are part of your daily life, I would say, and obviously an entrepreneur's journey. But having said that, I think the whole cash and things like that are risk mitigating factors, right? When I'm talking about entrepreneurship at any seminar or event, and we are with students, I always tell them that 7 or 8 people have the same idea at the same moment that you are having that idea, right? The differentiator of what you will end up doing and what the other person will end up doing is probably, to begin with, is knowledge, right? So have you studied the market? Have you understood the market? Have you done any research before making an idea or before making a plan? I think this is a way to de-risk, right? And so knowledge, I'm just taking cash and I'm looking at the bookends right now. And the second way to de-risk is hard work, right? So I always have a conversation. It's a joke between me and my team. And especially the sales and marketing team, who are always asking for money to do something or the other, right? So I always tell them that, hey, we don't have the budget for this, but it's okay. You can replace it with hard work, right? You can just replace cash money with hard work and probably get the same results that you wanted to spend that next million on or whatever, right? So,
sure.
So the idea here, what I'm trying to bring out is that there is risk. Okay, the risk needs to be calculated, and you must have a strategy to de-risk yourself or reduce the amount of risk, right? Be it moving to profitability in a new startup world, because that's a way to de-risk yourself, that if the markets are not favoring your business model today, you are de-risking yourself by, going for profitability, right? So there are many ways to de-risk. Risk is there. It needs to be thought about, calculated, and a strategy needs to be made in place.
Wow. That's so amazing, Vedant. Thank you for sharing that insight, because I think as sales, we take risk every day, committing, overcommitting, sometimes undercommitting also, but there is always a risk that we all have to go through. Vidhya sometimes catches that very clearly from a sales behavior perspective, and hence she's leading the transformation across the globe. As a takeaway for this session, because all of you spared so much time for us, all the audience members, and we didn't want it to be a session without any takeaway gift. So here is one small write-up which has been pasted in the comment section, in the chat section, and you can take this white paper from Vidhya, which talks about how we should be carving out our career in the data-driven economy of today's world. And also, I would request all of you to stay connected with all the panelists, and you can throw your questions, ask us, take our advice if you feel it is needed on anything, or just if you want to ideate, then just ping us on LinkedIn, and we all will be very keen to share our insights on any topics related to sales and marketing or the strategies around that. Thank you so much for joining in today. And as I hear and as I summarize from all of you, that we need to be taking some little bit of risk, but risk does not mean fear, because sales and marketing is all about being fearless, having a growth mindset, and keep moving on. And that's where I will quote a very famous Hindi writer who had said that about Nachiketa. Nachiketa is the story of a small child, a young child who had walked up to Yamraj and asked some tough questions to him. These 4 lines actually say that, and this actually personifies all the sales and marketing people who are present today, or whoever is selling and doing marketing for their companies, for their functions, that मैं नचिकेता का हूँ वंशज, भाई मुझको नहीं सता सकता, पथ से नहीं डिगा सकता, मत देखो मेरा अश्रुपात, मत देखो मेरा स्तब्ध गात, तुम मत समझो अति क्लैब्य मुझे, देता हूं मैं यह वचन तुझे, मन शीत नहीं भयभीत नहीं, पर देख तुझे अतिक्षत विक्षत विचलित हो जाते ये प्राण सभी, ये प्राण तुझी पर हैं अर्पित, इस प्रण को कौन डिगा सकता, मैं नचिकेता हूं वंशज, भाई मुझको नहीं सता सकता. So to all the fearless souls who have joined us today, what this poem basically means is, or these few lines mean is, that we are not scared, we are not afraid of anything, whether it is we meet in metaverse with our customers, or we transform into this new paradigm shift of living with the mask, living without the mask, operating from roads, operating from customer premises, or sometimes checking into a hotel like what I did today for this session. Here's to all of you. Cheers to all of you, and wish you all the very best. Stay connected, stay tuned to YLC. This is on behalf of Young Leaders Council of All India Management Association that I want to thank all the panelists for sharing such deep insights into the session. Also helping me today to cope up with the contingency plan, and Vedant, particularly for you, hats off to you, man, for stepping in at the last minute. I think if I don't tell this, then people would not have even known that you just walked in last minute and helped me out. So you were a savior today. And this is to all of us that contingency planning is very important. And I think as sales and marketing, we will keep growing, where we'll keep contributing to dollars for our companies and keep sharing insights, because collaboration is the key for all the salespeople, and the world is becoming small with technology. So wishing you all of you best of luck, and thank you to all the panelists. Thank you to Rajni for organizing this, and thank you to YLC for giving us this platform for ideation and for sharing our insights on so many amazing topics right across from conventional sales and marketing to the future of sales and marketing. For more details on this, stay tuned, stay connected with us on LinkedIn and with each of these panelists, and we'll be happy to share our insights. Thank you. Shabba khair. Take care.
And please follow YLC on all its social media platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, to keep yourself updated. And thank you so much, panelists. Thank you so much, Anoop.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks.
Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye.